What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And we have a ton of stuff to talk about in today's episode, so let's get into it. I wanted to start the show off today, guys, talking about Ninja Gaiden and the future of the franchise. We've talked about Ninja Gaiden in the past on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to talk about the future of Ninja Gaiden and kind of where is Ninja Gaiden 4 at this point, because we haven't seen a sequel to Ninja Gaiden in quite some time. So let's talk about it. In an article that was written by Hayes Madsen of Screen Rant, what the new Ninja Gaiden game needs to fix. So Ninja Gaiden is one of the series that helped define the character action genre with ridiculously bloody and frantic combat. As a reboot of the classic franchise, then, the new Ninja Gaiden was much different. It's been 8 years since the new Ninja Gaiden as Team Ninja moved on and focused on new projects. That means the franchise was completely absent from the life of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which I just think is a complete disservice. I know that Ninja Gaiden Z didn't really meet expectations, but I really felt that Ninja Gaiden should have been a game that was, obviously existed in some form or fashion on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. With the new generation on the way, now is the time to reevaluate the franchise. Although nothing is confirmed, Team Ninja is well aware that the fans are clamoring for a new Ninja Gaiden. So, a couple of things. Ninja Gaiden 4 needs a better camera and tighter controls. So Ninja Gaiden was always about fast-paced, frantic action. And because of that, the camera was constantly an obstacle to deal with. This was true in all three games, but it was at its worst in Ninja Gaiden 3, where enemies would constantly attack from off-screen. The camera is the number one thing Ninja Gaiden 4 needs to work on, as it's vitally important to any modern action game. Many action titles like Devil May Cry 5 or Astral Chain use a dynamic camera system that helps keep track of the action while also giving players control to move it when they need to. Ninja Gaiden desperately needs a similar setup, one that constantly adjusts to the flow of battles and the number of enemies, keeping from getting too close up on Ryo Hayabusa. So I agree with this. Overall, Ninja Gaiden 3 I felt like somewhat similar, where you had, I agree with the statement where the enemies would be constantly attacking from off screen. That was true. Obviously with the older games we didn't have that issue. But certainly, Ninja Gaiden 4, obviously the camera, is a big talking point without a doubt. And I think that what they're stating here in this portion of the article is certainly valid. Ninja Gaiden 4 should have a more relatable Ryu. So story has never been a focal point in Ninja Gaiden, but Ninja Gaiden 3 suffered from a severely bland story that really dragged out the experience. Part of the problem is that Ryu is and never has been a relatable protagonist. He's the stoic action hero and a killing machine, but that's about it. Ryu rarely shows emotion, and although Team Ninja has detailed bits of his backstory, it feels like players still don't know him. He has faced demonic monstrosities and world-ending cataclysms, and that needs to be represented in his character. So I agree with this, but at the same time, guys, look. Ninja Gaiden 3, to me, was not as bad as what a lot of people said they thought it was. I think that the Ninja Gaiden 3, in particular, that backlash, is not as deserved as maybe Ninja Gaiden Z is. I believe Ninja Gaiden Z, sure, I get all the criticisms there, but Ninja Gaiden 3 I thought overall was pretty good. Sure, you can kind of nitpick and say that, maybe Ryu needs to have like more emotion and he needs to be more invested, of course, in the story and such. But at the same time, I felt that, look, it's a hack and slash kind of action-based game without much story there, because that's really what it is, and that's what we're there for. Sure, I want to see the continuation of Ryo Hayabusa, but at the same time, I think that the criticism is a little bit too strong with Ninja Gaiden 3, in my personal opinion. So, Ninja Gaiden 4 should take cues from Nioh. So Nioh burst onto the scene in 2017 as a fascinating combination of Ninja Gaiden style combat and Souls-like design. Considering Nioh takes combat elements from Ninja Gaiden, it's only right that a Ninja Gaiden 4 continues that cycle. Nioh's combat stays varied by combining combos with a more thoughtful stance system, making players adapt to whatever stance an enemy is in. It still keeps a fast pace but requires more thought on the part of the player than the hack and slash of Ninja Gaiden. So I agree with this. Now, one thing I will say, guys, is that I really hope that the next Ninja Gaiden is not as exclusive to PlayStation, which is what Nioh is, and that's been something that kind of bothered me about Nioh, and I think that it actually has held it back from being a massive game, is because it's pretty much exclusive to the PlayStation console. So that being said, though, I do agree with this. I think that Nioh has added something, especially in the combat, that makes it unique to Nioh, and I think that they could certainly do that with Ninja Gaiden 4, and because of the popularity of Nioh, it certainly would help to add some of those elements of what's worked over to Ninja Gaiden 4. So, by looking at Nioh's combat, Ninja Gaiden 4 could implement some kind of guarding or parring system that requires players to carefully approach enemies and evaluate how they're going to attack rather than just charge in and unleash Ryu's fury. So, I agree with this. Like I said, pretty much like a lot of the stuff in this article, I actually do agree with. I think that what Team Ninja, probably what they're thinking is, okay, they're, Nioh 2 now is released, and they're probably thinking to themselves, you know what, we just got to go ahead and now, instead of maybe working on Nioh 3 immediately, let's go ahead and work on Ninja Gaiden 4. We can come back to Nioh 3 and kind of go back and forth between the two. Here's the thing, guys. Where's Ninja Gaiden 4 at this very point? Well, obviously, guys, I think it's kind of interesting that we're mentioning Nioh right now. Obviously, Team Ninja are also, the creators of Nioh. I think after Nioh, with the second one that has come out now, I think that Team Ninja is probably looking at, okay, let's move into back or give, Ninja Gaiden another chance. And, kind of maybe, like I said, go back and forth between the two. Ninja Gaiden 4 has been in a hiatus, guys, ever since, Ninja Gaiden Z and some of, just the, more recently than not, with the games in the Ninja Gaiden franchise, have just taken a lot of backlash, a lot of high criticism with these games. And so that's probably why Team Ninja was just, look, anyone who gets a lot of criticism, there's going to come a point where you have a breaking point where it's like, okay, maybe we need to move on to something else. And that's what Team Ninja did with Nioh. They moved on to Nioh and it became a big success. So they're probably thinking, well, maybe now with the success, we're kind of reestablishing our name, our brand. Let's move into Ninja Gaiden 4, bring that back for the fans, and really try to take some of the things that have worked from Nioh and do that in Ninja Gaiden 4. If you were to ask me, guys, I think Ninja Gaiden 4 is probably most likely not in development as of yet, but it very well might be. But it's probably in the very beginnings of development, if it's in development at all. I would say that the concepts are probably out there right now because obviously they've been focusing a lot on Nioh 2. So I would say that the concepts are probably out there. They're probably, a significant thought process going into Ninja Gaiden 4 and what's going to work and things of that nature. I would say that we're probably going to get an announcement most likely next year for a Ninja Gaiden 4, and then we probably won't see the game itself another year or two after that. But that's just what I think, guys. I think that's probably what to maybe expect from Ninja Gaiden 4 for all of you out there, including myself, who are massive fans of this franchise. So where's the game, guys? Right now, I think it's been kind of put into that back burner, that limbo state, and it's probably coming up to the surface closer and closer as we speak. Team Ninja, I'm sure, is definitely cooking up some interesting ideas for a follow-up to some kind of lulls in the franchise, I think is an understatement. But with that being said, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for all more news and content based around Ninja Gaiden 4, stay with us right here on Zero TV. We've been talking quite a bit about Mafia and the future of this franchise, and I've said on multiple occasions, guys, on the YouTube channel that Mafia has always been, for whatever reason or another, whether it's the story or just the gameplay itself, has always been more enjoyable to me than a game even like Grand Theft Auto. I absolutely love this franchise and the story that comes with it. The third one obviously wasn't as good as Mafia 1 and 2, but I'm really excited to see kind of a future, hopefully, in the Mafia franchise. So let's talk about everything we know so far about Mafia 4. So here we go. In an article, guys, that was written by Danny Pays of Inverse, Grand Theft Auto 6 might still be a few years away, but another organized crime title may fill the GTA-sized hole in gamers' hearts. Alleged details about Mafia 4 surfaced online, suggesting the fourth entry of the series could arrive soon after the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X launch. It's been 3 years since developer Hangar 13 and publisher 2K Games released Mafia 3. The game's final DLC pack launched in 2017, and the Godfather-inspired title received lukewarm reviews as it played second fiddle to Rockstar's GTA series. But a crop of alleged leaks posted by Redditor The Truth Teller 1985 suggests Mafia 4 could finally break free from GTA's shadow. The Truth Teller 1985 claimed 2 anonymous former Hangar 13 developers and an unnamed journalist revealed that Mafia 4 is well on its way to being finalized. 2K's holding company Take-Two Interactive has also recently hinted that it's working on a couple of big sequels for some of its most memorable series. So this is really exciting, guys. Obviously, nothing's been absolutely confirmed at this point as of yet. These are all just, leaks and rumors and things of that nature. However, the Truth Teller 1985 has been known to leak and actually be successful when he leaks certain things. So, he is probably a pretty good source. That being said, they'll always take it with a pinch of salt. So when is the Mafia 4 release date? The Truth Teller 1985 said Hangar 13 began prototyping Mafia 4 immediately after the final DLC for Mafia 3 launched. Progress on the project stalled for at least half a year due to internal struggles. The developer has since assembled a small task force to tackle Mafia 4, and the leaker claimed motion capture for the game began 8 to 9 months ago, with an estimated 2021 release date. Mafia 3 was announced in mid-2015, about a year and a half before it hit shelves. That means if 2K follows a similar timeline and the Reddit leaks are accurate, we could get a Mafia 4 teaser in early or mid-2020. And guys, if we got a Mafia 4 teaser this year, I would be incredibly excited about that, and I certainly will, of course, keep you guys all posted as we get further information with Mafia 4. But this is really good news. I think that if you are a Mafia fan like myself, this is really great and very exciting. What I will say, guys, is I'm just hoping that this Mafia game is a full package, and we'll get to that here very shortly. So, what has 2K said about Mafia 4? The publisher has not confirmed the release of Mafia 4, but Take-Two Interactive has implied it has a few surprises up its sleeve. Looking ahead, Take-Two has the strongest development pipeline in its history, including sequels from our biggest franchises as well as exciting new IP, reads the company's November 7th financial statement. The release was vague, didn't mention any specific franchises, so it could have been referencing BioShock, any of its many sports games, Civilization, and even GTA 6, since Take-Two also owns Rockstar Games. But Take-Two also registered 3 trademarks for the Mafia series in September. Its statement and these approved trademark filings make the series seem like a top contender for what the company has in store in the near future. So this is exciting, guys. Now, when they say that they registered 3 trademarks, one thing that comes to mind for me is that, okay, Mafia 3 obviously was on Xbox One, but you had Mafia 1 and 2 were on the original Xbox and then the 360. So my thought process is thinking that maybe the first 2 trademarks were actually a Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 remaster, with the third trademark being obviously Mafia 4. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up being the case. What could Mafia 4 be about? The Reddit leaker claims Mafia 4 will take place in Las Vegas during the 1970s, and it will be a direct sequel to the third entry. Gamers will play as an all-new protagonist during the golden years of organized crime. The leaks didn't confirm if any characters will return from previous games, but that it would be very Scorsese-esque. That could mean it will be akin to films like The Departed or Goodfellas. So, look, if we do go to Las Vegas, which this has been a rumor that's been going around, swirling around the Mafia community, Vegas would be amazing. It would be absolutely incredible. I don't think that Vegas is used enough in video games. I would actually like it to be used a lot more in video games because it's just one of those cities that's just absolutely awesome. Obviously, you had like Fallout New Vegas. You had, obviously the Rainbow Six Vegas games. But it's just, I never get sick of going back to Las Vegas. I always think that it's like just a really cool place to have a video game set in, especially in the 1970s, man. That would be absolutely incredible. So what could Mafia 4's gameplay be like? The leaks hinted that Mafia 4 will be much larger in scale than Mafia 3 and will take place over a decade, which could mean the environments will change as the story progresses. There was said to be a heavy focus on empire building, letting players buy land and casinos to rake in the cash. Lastly, Hangar 13 allegedly won't include any of the flashback storytelling that defined Mafia 3, instead keeping everything based in the present. So, all I'll say, guys, is that this all sounds really great. Now, there's a couple of things, though, that obviously are details that we don't know about as of yet, and I'm sure it's like things that we're going to want to know about, when we'll probably hear more about after the game gets announced and things of that nature. Mafia 4, guys, when I said that I want a full package, with any video game, I love having a full package. I love having a single-player experience that we can experience and we can come back to, whether that's an open-world setting or having other single-player modes, that being, whatever it might be, right? Kind of as they're stating, something that would be really cool is like empire building. But I think an empire building setting, what I think of actually, is more of a multiplayer setting where you're not only empire building in a single player, but you're also trying to do that in a multiplayer setting or a co-op setting. And so that leads me to believe that maybe they're going to, for the first time in this franchise, add a multiplayer component. And like I said, when you get a full package deal, what's nice about that is not only are you going to have a single player experience, but you're also going to have co-op or multiplayer modes, which obviously that adds value, but it also brings you back to the franchise, and I've said this on a number of occasions, and that's something I want to see out of Mafia 4. I want to be able to come back to the franchise over and over again in a multiplayer standpoint, but also even just, from a single-player perspective. The thing about Mafia is that after you beat the game, you'll do some of the side missions and things of that nature, and then you're done, and you can, of course, play the game over again, but it's one of those things that in order to bring people back to the game, other than DLC in a single-player story, really having a multiplayer really helps. Look at GTA Online. Look at Red Dead Online. Look at a lot of these games that have single-player stories but have added multiplayer components. So that's what I'm hoping with Mafia 4. But at this point, guys, that's what we know so far about the game. I'm going to keep all of you up to speed and of course, let you guys know when we get further information. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you guys excited for a Mafia 4? Do you guys want to see it? What do you guys want to see in a Mafia 4? I would love to hear from you guys. And for more Mafia 4 content and videos, stick right here with Zero TV. So an absolutely terrifying franchise, and a franchise in which I really hope comes back at some point or another and had a game in development and then obviously got canceled, was Silent Hills. Of course, Hideo Kojima's take on a significant, scary game, which I think could have been potentially one of the greatest horror games ever made. And of course, it got canceled, and it was, of course, known as PT at the time, playable teaser. But then, of course, they obviously was going to be a much bigger game, that being Silent Hills. Well, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about what happened to Silent Hill as a gaming franchise. Like, what happened to it, and will we ever see it return? Let's talk about it. So an article that was written by John Canties, of course, of Gaming Bolt. Few video game franchises have reached the level of sheer notoriety of Silent Hill. Not only one of the most celebrated franchises in survival horror, but video games in general. For this, there are many reasons, but mostly this is due to Silent Hill's unique take on survival horror, a genre that, at the time of the first game's release, had mostly been limited to somewhat obscure point-and-click adventures on the PC and very few actual standout adventure-style experiences like Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark. Once the original Silent Hill was released in 1999 on the surprisingly successful Sony PlayStation, Konami quickly realized that they had a hit on their hands with the game. So this was an interesting development, as not much was expected of Team Silent, as they were largely a group of developers and artists that, for one reason or another, underperformed in other projects and were essentially lumped together into their own team, where they were regularly ignored and told to be silent, hence the somewhat insulting name of the team. So obviously, it had some very humble beginnings. Since Silent Hill was released so late in the PlayStation's lifespan, the sequel was to be released on its successor, the PlayStation 2. Here we would see yet another timeless classic from Team Silent in Silent Hill 2. This game eclipsed the first in every possible way and really pushed the boundaries of how dark and mature the themes could get in video games, all while also selling quite well and justifying the development of several more installments. The PlayStation 2 also saw the release of Silent Hill 3 and 4, which were quite good as well, although most would agree ultimately fell short of the masterpiece that was the second game. Still, the franchise was plenty popular after the fourth game. So what happened to what happened? Even after the fourth game, it was still really popular. So, what happened? What happened to this franchise? Why did something go wrong here? Well, even though Team Silent was excited and willing to continue the franchise, the mid-2000s was a time when Konami was undergoing a lot of changes, and unfortunately, one of the major pieces of collateral damage was Konami's restructuring was the disbandment of Team Silent. Konami now wanted Western developers to make the Silent Hill games, and former members of Team Silent found themselves scattered throughout Konami, not unlike how they were before the team was formed. Some prominent members went to work on the excellent Siren series, which would later scratch a similar itch for Silent Hill fans. Many more members ended up in Kojima Productions, and some wound up joining Grasshopper Manufacture. So the chances of the team working on another proper Silent Hill game were essentially zero, as several other Western developers would now have their chance to carry on the legacy of the franchise that had now become a household name, and the results were mixed at best. So obviously, the first thing that kind of happened was, of course, Konami kind of splitting up Team Silent, right? Really, or disbanding the team as a whole. But then, of course, those team members kind of go in all their separate ways. And so whenever you do something along those lines, guys, and a developer is disbanded, obviously when you come back to the series and you don't have that original core crew of people working on it that are passionate about it, that are all in on it, and have actually brought a lot of success to the franchise, sometimes things go very well, and other times things go very poorly. It can kind of go one way or another. The first Western team to have a crack at Silent Hill was Climax Studios. They were tasked with making an origin story that would land on the PSP and later get a port to the PlayStation 2. Silent Hill Origins, or Silent Hill Zero, as it was known in Japan, was actually quite decent, and despite a slightly more dedicated focus on combat, felt pretty much at home with the previous entries. Of course, I don't find that to be particularly fair to the game, though, as it does mostly check the boxes of what makes a good Silent Hill game, albeit with less heart, perhaps. The real decline began with the following game, Silent Hill Homecoming, on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The game was roundly criticized for its boring main character and dramatic change in style that would now forego the tactic of the previous entries that would let an ominous thematic atmosphere slowly creep into the player's head in favor of jump scares and gross out moments that would come and go in an instant. At its core, Homecoming wasn't a bad game, it just wasn't a good Silent Hill game. So, look, this is where I came into the franchise, actually, guys, was Homecoming. I started playing Homecoming. I actually really thought it was good. I liked it a lot. I didn't have, I know it got a lot of bad reviews and things of that nature, but I guess I just didn't know any better. Because, I came into this franchise and Homecoming, I'm like, this is actually pretty good. And then, of course, the next entry was, of course, Downpour, which did an admirable job taking risk in making creative changes to the formula and perhaps was better than Homecoming in some ways, but ultimately, this was not enough to keep longtime fans happy or capture the interest of many new ones. And since it was around this time that the completely botched HD remaster of the second and third game was released and a couple of mediocre at best movie adaptions, it was an objectively bad time for the franchise. Morale was low for longtime fans, and many would give up on the series at this point. Thankfully, newer survival horror games like Amnesia were taking their own waves, or were making their own waves in the genre, and it started to seem like maybe survival horror didn't need Team Silent anymore. So most gamers know the story of Silent Hills, or PT, at this point, so I won't bore you with litigating all of that. But essentially the whole world was teased with the Kojima-directed, Norman Reedus starring, and Del Toro advised first-person Silent Hill game. And due to some major differences between Hideo Kojima and his bosses at Konami that finally came to the surface at the end of development of Metal Gear Solid 5, Kojima and his team had abruptly split with Konami after decades of work together. This, of course, resulted in the complete and total shutdown of Silent Hills, and perhaps the greatest cumulative sigh of disappointment the gaming community has ever experienced together. And I will agree with that. Guys, when this happened, I was devastated, man. Like, it was terrible. When I found out that PT was actually going to be a continuation of the Silent Hill franchise, I thought to myself, man, this is so good. PT was so good. It was so creative, and I'm thinking to myself, I mean, if they do this correctly, and the direction they're going in, because it's Hideo Kojima, one of the greatest game developers of all time, this could be really special. And I don't know what happened between him and Konami. Obviously, they had differences. It's a really unfortunate thing what happened, because I would love to see what Silent Hills was going to look like. I think that the world deserved to see it and be able to play it and experience it, because they had been working on it for a while. But I guess we'll just never know, guys. The only thing that we'll ever have is PT, which of course has been taken off of the store by Hideo Kojima. Now, if the release of a few mediocre movies and games weren't what killed the franchise, then this surely did. Now, with so much universal animosity that gamers feel towards Konami as a result of the split with Kojima and the canceling of Silent Hills, I doubt that a Silent Hill game would sell well, even if it was good, which is a terrible place for Konami to put their fans, and the franchise is now in the worst position it has ever been in. The silver lining to all of this is that now Kojima and his team, of course, made Death Stranding. But the lingering question still remains. Will Silent Hill ever make a return? And obviously, guys, with Death Stranding, Kojima made a very good game in Death Stranding. A lot of people didn't enjoy Death Stranding for, just for a number of reasons, thinking it's a walking simulator and things of that nature. I thought it's a fantastic game. I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed Death Stranding. I would have liked to see Silent Hills, though. I just do. I even to this day, I think to myself, man, what could have been so good of a game with Silent Hills? But we're never going to know. We'll just never know, unfortunately, unless Kojima decides to somehow make a spin-off of Silent Hills or something along those lines, which, of course, Konami owns the rights to Silent Hill, so it'd have to be somewhat different. I would love to see Hideo Kojima do a horror game, but maybe something completely separate from obviously Silent Hill. Well, we won't know, but I think really what happened to Silent Hill, guys, was, of course, them getting, disbanding Team Silent, and then, of course, having a couple of mediocre games, even though I thought that they were pretty good. They were mediocre to diehard fans as well as, even critics and, reviewers alike. And then, of course, I think the nail in the coffin was significantly Konami and Kojima not getting along for Silent Hills, and then we'll never know what happened, what would have been there. But the question is, do you guys think that we'll ever get a Silent Hill sequel? It's a big question, guys, and I think it's something that we should definitely have a real conversation about. Let me know in the comment section below. And for all future Silent Hill content for new games that may be coming out in the franchise, stay right here with Zero TV. So we've talked on the YouTube channel previously about Bully and maybe what happened to the franchise as a whole, but I wanted to talk about where is Bully 2 in this segment of the show. So let's talk about it. In an article, guys, that was written by, of course, Game Central on Metro, Bully 2 was being made but got canceled, says Rockstar Insiders. So Bully 2, guys, apparently was being made, and then all of a sudden it got canceled for maybe some unknown reasons by Rockstar. So all those rumors about a sequel to Bully were apparently true, but while there was a playable demo, work was stopped years ago. For years now, there have been rumors about a follow-up to 2006's Bully, but rumors have been especially rampant after the release of Red Dead Redemption 2, which contains several hidden references to the game. Some people took this as evidence that an announcement for Bully 2 was imminent, but according to a source at website VGC, while a sequel was in development in the early 2010s, enthusiasm at Rockstar fizzled out and it was eventually canned. Development was apparently centered at Rockstar New England, who worked on Bully Scholarship Edition and got as far as a playable demo with basic open world gameplay, but work stopped in late 2013. It's crazy, guys, because if you think about it, Rockstar is so good about keeping a wraps on their games as a whole. I mean, if they would have stopped work on this in 2013 and just was information that was kept behind closed doors for this long, that's impressive. Supposedly, Rockstar co-founder and GTA and Red Dead Redemption 2 Red Dead Redemption writer Dan Houser and his team had finished a script for the game as early as 2008, which included the initial scenes and an outline of the rest of the plot. VGC corroborates earlier claims by YouTuber Swegta that the protagonist was Jimmy from the first game and that the story started at Jimmy's stepdad's house during the summer. But apparently the problem was that nobody could decide what happened after that or whether Jimmy went back to school or college, with Rockstar presumably worried the game would just end up as a rerun of the first one. Which is pretty crazy, I mean, honestly. Given the time all this was going on, the game used the same Rage graphic engine as Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, Max Payne 3, and Red Dead Redemption, although no credible screenshots have ever been leaked out. None of this means that there won't ever be a Bully 2, but the work that was being done appears to have finished, so if Rockstar do try again, they'd almost certainly be doing so from scratch, which will mean an even longer wait till the sequel comes out. So I think, guys, really what happened and where Bully 2 is. Bully 2 is right now in a limbo state, and we don't know if it'll ever come back. I think that we can all agree that Rockstar obviously thought that there wasn't enough creativity to this game, to having a sequel to the first Bully. I personally think that if you're going to do a Bully 2, if there were that many creative differences or creative issues, why not just have Jimmy go to college? I think that would be the best move forward, kind of, make him a little bit older and make it years later after the Bully game or Bully 1. And, kind of do some things, trendy things that are happening in today's society, but just in a Bully 2. I think that they could have done a lot with that, but obviously they didn't think there was enough. They're probably working, obviously, on GTA 6, on probably a Max Payne 4, maybe even an LA Noire 2 at this point. It's hard to say, guys. There's just some of their other IPs are bigger than Bully. Bully has a passionate fan base, without a doubt. I enjoyed the game as well, but I don't think it's as strong as some of their other IPs. You look at GTA, Red Dead Redemption, Max Payne, even LA Noire. I think that Bully has a very strong following, but the problem is that if you don't have enough options, or even though I do think they had enough options, but if the creativity levels aren't there and Rockstar's not feeling it, then obviously I would rather them move on and make very good games moving forward with the other IPs that they have. And if they ever come up with a really good idea for Bully, I think that we will have, there will be something to be said at that time, or, later on down the road. Bully 2, guys, I'm not going to say that it's never going to happen, because I think that there's a real possibility. They're obviously thinking about it. One thing that's for sure, though, is that they had been working on it, and they canceled production a while back, it seems, which tells me that, they've probably been working on other stuff now for a while. They've been working, obviously, with Red Dead Redemption 2, obviously with GTA 6. I think that's probably, even though that's not fully confirmed yet, but even like a Max Payne and LA Noire. It's hard to say, guys, but I think Bully 2 at this point is in a limbo state, and I don't know if it's ever going to come out. But what I will say, guys, is I would love to hear from all of you. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. And for all and more Bully 2 based content and videos, stay right here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.